Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. It's October 2nd here on the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined by Matthew Betz and Mike Wright.
October. Wow. Doesn't it feel like the season just started, yesterday?
I mean,
it's been 4 weeks.
4 weeks? I don't look. It was 115 degrees over the weekend for me, guys. So I don't know. I don't know nothing about fall.
Football weather.
I had the opposite, where I was.
Oh yeah, you
post hurricane.
You had your own little weather situation going on there too. That's fair.
Yeah, things are different all over the U.S., but we are a month into football, and for some of us and some of our players, they have not started yet. They're still getting, things churning.
We're warming up.
Just a little runway of a month. That's all we need for some of these guys. And in fact, the players we're going to be talking about on this episode today, they're all old. So, it takes a little bit. And usually with old players, we want them to start hot so that we can trade them away. Some of these old dudes, because we're going to be talking old busted and old undervalued, are just not getting started. They can't get it going anymore.
Too old?
So what you're saying, Kyle, is that one of these weeks, Mark Andrews will score a fantasy point.
Oh, my God.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
That's what I need to hear.
Guys, I'm dying. I am dying inside. Me and Kyle, not Dynasty, but League of Record. We are look, it's a 3-keeper, and we get an early second-round pick. So our second pick was Mark Andrews, and it has been...
Which is like a fifth for most people.
It's sort of, it's the curve, but anyways, it was just pure disaster, season-ruining type of a pick.
Pain.
I don't even have words, and we're going to break him down, by the way. Spoiler alert.
Oh, we're breaking him down. We're putting him in the ground, Mark Andrews. Your name is trash.
I never can quite figure out with Mike, so I'm his co-manager, where he's at in the moment. If he's just like, I can't take this anymore, we're moving on, or we just got to hold forever. Because Mark Andrews is one of those players that we know has been awesome. Even just like some of the stuff we were looking at as a pure receiver last year was like 10th best and a ton of separation scores, all the stuff, not just like tight end metrics, but like receiver scores. So he's one of the players we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about some other old guys. And what do you do in Dynasty? I tried to work some magic today, working a trade for Travis Kelce, trying to figure out, a couple weeks ago was really the low point for Kelce.
Yeah, you're buying in too late now.
Well, I'm trying to buy in with Andy. So
Loves to buy high, sell low. The opposite of what you're supposed to do. Kyle, that's what he's doing, man. Hey,
trading
listen.
for Kelce now is legitimately buying high on an old man.
Oh, I felt pretty good about my offer. It was very low. It was Justice Hill and David Njoku.
Oh, did it get done,
fine.
or did that get immediately rejected?
Oh, it started a conversation.
Okay. Well, what's that conversation at now?
We're still in the works.
What's going on? The people need to know, Kyle.
I think that those two players start a conversation of you can add in some picks, back and forth and kind of figure out where you're at. But I feel like with Kelce right now, Betz, we still don't have any update about Rashee Rice, right?
Not as of our recording, but
we
not looking great.
The update is that there's no update, which is super duper weird. Okay, Betz, you're the physical therapist fella. What is going on? How long does it take to figure out what
could
a
they
knee
be doing?
injury is?
What are they doing over there, man?
Yeah.
What the heck? So my take on the situation is that they're probably trying to get additional images to evaluate other structures. So when his knee kind of hyperextended, you could see his foot rotate outward a little bit. There's a structure in the back of the knee called the posterior lateral corner. That could be, as everyone knows, I mean, come on, could also be injured. And
Do I have one of
there was
those?
a report. You have one of those, yeah.
Do I have two?
You have two, one on each leg.
Heck yeah.
It's shocking how that works.
Yeah.
But there was a report from Josina Anderson on Monday afternoon, and her, like, it was like a speculative tweet about like surgery windows of like when they want to do it. And it was like, this is weird because we don't have confirmation of the ACL injury as of our recording, but she's already floating out surgery windows idea. Like maybe this is a staged recovery, kind of like, not like Nick Chubb, very different than his injury, but like how he had 2 surgeries.
We're launching a rocket into space. There's only certain times of the day and the year that we can do it.
Basically, yeah.
Get him to Florida.
I have her sheet everywhere, so I'm just holding out the slightest glimmer of hope that this is not what we all think it is, but we should know sooner than later.
Injury information for athletes, real people, by the way, is like, we see the injury that happens in a game. You get the initial reaction right after the game, and then you kind of get information within a couple of days giving you like, here's the imaging, here's what they did. I'm just thinking about my own life. Like if I got injured, it's like, I guess I'll go to the doctor. I guess this gets delayed. Like it could be a whole month till I really figure out what actually happened to me. But these athletes, like, I need to know this week. That's kind of like where we're at now. And I feel like with your job bets, it's like you find out a lot of information within the week.
Well, and it was weird because, coaches never talk about injuries during the game. And like afterwards, they always say like, we'll consult the medical staff. We'll see what the MRI shows. We'll know more tomorrow. But like at halftime, Andrew Reid was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. And it was like, whoa, okay. So yeah, I don't know, man. But speaking about injuries in the NFL and us as just normal awkward people that aren't real athletes, I lost it on the Tuesday show when Andy compared his bilateral Achilles tendonitis to that of Christian McCaffrey. I was so good. He was like, I've had this.
Yeah.
I've had this happen to me.
We're the same guy.
Christian McCaffrey, Andy, one and the same.
Yeah. We can relate to the players that we spend a lot of time with.
Hey, I've
day.
had that plantar, that fasciitis.
Haven't we all?
That thing sucks, man. I had it for months.
Yeah, it doesn't go away.
There's no remedy? You just kind of tough it out?
I mean, there is, but it takes a very long time. So.
Oh, well, you learn something every single day. But as I mentioned on this episode, we'll be talking old busted, old undervalued, kind of get to the lay of the land. And then next week, we'll be talking trade targets. And in a couple weeks, I see on our schedule a rookie draft redo, where we're going to redo the first round, second round of rookie drafts and kind of see, all right, here's how players have moved.
Right.
I mean, the big conversation is obviously Neighbors and Harrison. And I think it's trended in the direction of most people would take Neighbors ahead right now. And why not? Lead the league in targets. But we'll have that conversation coming up. But first thing we're going to do,
fun.
Yeah, is rewind to last week.
Weekly Rewind.
Every week on the Dynasty podcast, we rewind the film and we do a deep dive on a player and kind of talk about the implications for Dynasty. I will let Betz go first because yours is so painful. We need to get out of the way.
I don't know what to do with Kyle Pitts anymore, man. So he is earning a target on 14% of his routes.
Nice.
Not great. He's averaging 1.06 yards per route run. Also, not great. And when I think about the conversation, from like just a short-term outlook for the Falcons, entering the year, it was like, okay, they got Kirk Cousins. Arthur Smith is gone. This pass rate should be there this year. But what's kind of wild about that team is that they're not very pass-heavy at all. I mean, they're middle of the pack, 16th in pass rate, but they're 31st in plays per game. So you have an offense right now that's not ripping off a ton of plays, and they're not throwing enough to compensate for not enough play volume, which means one or two or sometimes three of the main pass catchers are not going to get there on a week in and week out basis. And certainly you would bet against Kyle Pitts in this situation based off of his numbers. I mean, it's so bad. Like watching him on film, it really is worse than you think. Like sometimes the numbers are like, yeah, was it that bad? Like was the ball like overthrown affecting his, yards per route run number, stuff like that. Like he's just not getting open. And he's kind of in no man's land where it's like, he's not really good enough to operate as like a true perimeter wide receiver, but he's also not really a classic traditional inline tight end. So his role in the NFL, it's like a very thin needle to thread where he has to have the best situation for his skill set. And I don't know that it's currently with this version of the Falcons or last year's version of the Falcons or any version of the Falcons. And so now you have a player who, ESPN's open score, I really like it because it kind of quantifies or attempts to quantify how good a player is independent of their situation. Like, are you getting open on a route, doing what you're supposed to do? And there have been 80 players charted in the NFL through 4 weeks that qualify for their metric. Kyle Pitts is 80th in that open score metric behind only
it's not
Brandon
last.
Cooks. He's not. He is last.
He's qualified. That's what I see, that he's a qualified
man.
player.
He is behind Brandon Cooks, Greg Dortch, Dalton Schultz. So I don't know, man. You once had this guy who had 1,000 yards as a rookie, but it feels very much to me like Juju, where it's like you held on to the past for so long. And I'm not saying Kyle Pitts is old or anything, but just like you held on to like that one thing for a second year, a third year, a fourth year, and it just doesn't look to be getting any better. So Kyle Pitts is so tough.
Is it possible that his injuries have just like depleted him?
I would say at this point, I would be shocked if that's what's happening right now. Last year, that was a very fair thing to consider, at least in the first 2 months, 2.5 months, or something like that, because he was recovering from a PCL injury, which, as we're seeing with Puka this year, like lingers for a very, very long time. He also had surgery on his MCL, so it's not shocking that last year didn't go great. But the fact that it's lingered so long into this year, where he's year and a half removed from surgery, like it should not be an issue anymore. So I don't know, man. I really don't. I don't know what to say. It's just been terrible.
I can tell you that I don't spend any time thinking that my Kyle Pitts jersey could have been a Jamar Chase jersey. I never think about that at all, and how bad that is. He does have a 5th-year option they picked up, so he's going to be on this team. It's about $11 million. If you have him in Dynasty, you're hoping for the Evan Ingram path,
Just hold him for a few more years and he'll
I was
age.
just thinking,
2027.
what's best case scenario for someone to have? We would say that Kyle Pitts was fine as a rookie, 1,000-yard season, and then it's been nothing, and then you just hope that he turns into some type of PPR option on a team that just peppers him with targets. But so far, you mentioned it, Betz, it's been slow. They haven't had the ball. They haven't converted a ton. Their first 3 weeks, like their third down conversions were just doo-doo. So yeah, with Kyle Pitts, I don't have, do you have any actionable advice for people other than just bench him?
I mean, at this point, tight ends, Kyle, you and me, said this is a good year for elite tight end. It is not a good year for elite tight end, spoiler. So who are you starting over him? I don't really know at this point, but in Dynasty, I mean, if you are a believer in Kyle Pitts, literally the price will never be lower, in my opinion, or at least at this point, a late second, a early third, where are we at with Kyle Pitts in the trade market? Because he has no value to a contender. If you are a contender, you can't rely on his fantasy production. So if you're in a rebuild, I guess it's okay, assuming the cost is obviously very, very minimal, but I would not be paying fair price, whatever that is in your league, for Kyle Pitts. It'd only be if I can get him on a low ball offer.
Rest of season, Kyle Pitts or Tucker Kraft?
I think Tucker Kraft.
I think so too, sadly. Anyway, speaking of Packers, Mike, you are up next, a player that you have loved and brought up a lot this offseason.
Yeah, it is Dontayvion Wicks season. Well, sort of, because I feel like the injury news on Christian Watson has kind of bounced back and forth. Of visually, it looked like that dude's toast. I mean, just full body bent over backwards with the foot planted. That's never good. Ruled out immediately, and now they're like, high ankle sprain, but we're not going to put him on IR. Maybe it's a little more mild than we thought. So I don't know how long Christian Watson's going to be out. Minimum 2 weeks. So I can't say it's Dontayvion Wicks' season, but we'll at least get a couple good weeks here, and that would be against the Rams in Arizona. So that part of it is pretty awesome. But the guy just produces when he's on the field. It's odd that we're this far into the season and they have and it's still the same stuff for the Packers. Get Wicks on the field and get him going. So this past week against Minnesota, 13 targets. He only came down with 5 for 78 and 2, which I went back and watched everything. A lot of that was Jordan Love's fault. Dontayvion did drop a 40-yard bomb touchdown that hit him right in the hands at the high point.
He struggles with drops, and I don't usually care about that stat, but he kind of does.
And one of his touchdowns, he double caught that thing for sure. But his targets per route runner are insane. 31%. That's tied for the 5th best in the NFL. Right, look, we're talking Cooper Kupp, Neighbors, Wandale, which look, the guy's getting targeted he's out of control, and Rashee Rice, which pour one out for Rice. And Jordan Love really enjoys throwing the ball to Wicks. This past week, he liked throwing the ball in the end zone. It was a strange game of, I think that Wicks didn't have a catch in the first half, and it was really only a couple targets, and they were bad targets as well. So this damage, this was all in the second half, and now he has this week and whatever the foreseeable future of. No, the game plan is not going to be, hey, we're going to prepare all 4 wide receivers. It's, we have these 3 guys, and this is what we got now. Unless they're going to be weird with Bo Melton, and they still want to have 4 wide receivers. I don't know, but Wicks, the numbers, the peripherals are so out of control. At least for his rookie year of getting the targets and the yards per out run, that this is a really exciting time period here of we get to find out, right? We get to find out, can Wicks actually do it here when he's a full-time guy while competing for targets with Jaden Reed. That's kind of the big thing. Last year it was this weird hodgepodge of everyone taking turns getting injured for the Packers. So this is about this is like the optimal full-strength Packers with Wicks involved. So I'm super pumped to see if he can come in here and still demand that many targets.
Do you guys think, because I watched the targets too, Mike, where it's he gets open and when they put him in motion, same thing with Reed. It's a creative offense. I feel like he's a better athlete than an actual NFL wide receiver.
He could be. I mean, he was a 5th round pick.
We don't care for fantasy. We just want somebody who can consistently get targeted, and 31% is insane. I went back and watched that Eagles game in week 1, and he had two drops, another one where it's just out of sync. So I think that's part of it, him just earning trust, and now they're at the point where he makes plays. That's good enough. He's going to be an every down wide receiver. So yeah, I mean, in Dynasty, he's kind of elevated to every week flex, and right now in redraft, he's the waiver wire pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say real quick too, just on last week's numbers, and it's super exciting because you see 13 targets, Tucker Kraft saw 9. You're like, oh my gosh, this volume is insane. They were trailing literally the entire game, and it's in the second half. Jordan Love threw the ball 40 times. I don't know. So just the overall volume, I think, will come down collectively, but the efficiency is off the charts. And if you've been holding him, or you kind of traded for him as an up and coming hot name this past summer, you're going to be rewarded, I think, with a couple of awesome weeks to play him. The Rams, the Cardinals, and the Texans the next 3 weeks. That's a pretty juicy schedule.
I want to throw out really quickly Justin Fields, because I went back and watched all of his pass attempts, which for Justin Fields was a lot. He was 22 of 34, threw for 312, and he ran 10 times for 55 and 2 tutties.
It wasn't looking great at the beginning of that game.
No,
it was
he definitely
vintage Fields. Couple sacks.
Same thing as Jordan Love. It's oh, no, okay. Yeah. I have the quarterback 1 on the week. And then the Steelers, this came from Schefter today, that the Steelers are preparing for Justin Fields to start versus the Cowboys because Russell Wilson is, quote, having a strong work day on Tuesday. What did you guys take that to mean? A strong work day?
No idea.
I having it being, we're 4 weeks in, and Fields, it looked really bad for the most of the game. But then things really clicked. They almost came back and won. They only lost by 3. I can't imagine a team that's 3-1 with Fields playing overall well. What sucks is he's not playing well for our fantasy teams. It's good. Well, this week was fantastic, but overall it's just been it's okay. But this isn't the fantasy football breaking scoring that we've gotten from Justin Fields, the Chicago Bears starter. But he's been good. He's executing the Steelers offense. So it's weird to me that anyone don't ask about Russell Wilson. Stop it. Let Fields let him play. And then if he plays his way out of the job and you're like, we've lost, 2 or 3 in a row. Okay, fine. Let's talk about Russell Wilson, who wasn't that great the last time we saw him anyway. So let's these are nonsense statements. Just let Fields roll.
Fields has been good in the sense of the throws outside the numbers. You saw that in week 1. That's all he threw. And then this past week against Pickens, I felt like they actually had some chemistry. There was a couple where it was just like right there, an end zone target that went off his hands. And then he looked pretty good with the youth. There was like a Stafford kind of like sidearm frisbee throw that he got the youth on a first down. Like, I think he's actually executing the offense well.
Yeah.
And they have some offensive line injuries, so I think injuries. So I think you are going to get some more passing volume. And so I just wanted to bring that up for Pickens and the Muth, that I think that they're going to be solid starts every single week. This team is 12th in EPA per pass, literally right behind the Texans so far. They're obviously not throwing as much as these other teams, but I will say this about Arthur Smith. He had some weird games with the Falcons and Desmond Ridder where they just threw a ton, and Desmond Ridder had like a couple of like crazy fantasy outputs because they just couldn't run the ball. So I wonder with all their injuries with Warren, Patterson, Najee, he's not old busted, but he is old on the field. It feels that way.
Yeah.
Man, the Colts entering, still they are dead last against the run in terms of total yards, I think. Entering last week, at least they were. What did Najee do? It was like 10 for 19 or something like that?
It was brutal. Betz, I don't know if you had, look, this is very selfish, I'm taking over, but Kyle and I are the League of Record team of doom. We big-brained it, man. We started Cordero Patterson, and the dude was heating up. He was like, they said, okay, well, Najee, we giving you the ball enough. Go ahead, Patterson. The dude was absolutely getting work done, and then, of course, he leaves the game with an injury. But the fact that Patterson looked that good.
He looked great.
And then Najee, he had a couple big plays, I think, on a reception or something. But on the ground, oh, there it is. 13 for 19. Sweet Lord.
1.5 a carry. Oh, my goodness. So with that in mind, Kyle mentioned Jalen Warren banged up. Probably not playing this week. Cordell Patterson, ankle injury. Najee running through quicksand. Like, if you get more dropbacks for Justin Fields, I think we could see some of the rushing that we've been so used to also come back. And you mentioned the Desmond Ridder fantasy games. Some of those I remember, like, he's getting carries around the goal line in Atlanta. So if we get that from Fields like we saw last week, he could have some really nice days for fantasy.
Yeah, if you're in Superflex and he was your quarterback 3, 4, like you weren't hoping for anything, you've gotten to the point where you've been able to start him as opposed to some of these other guys, and you've seen the floor, and then we saw a ceiling outcome. So yeah, it does look pretty good. I feel like we need to come up with some term or name for these running backs that go 13 for 19. What Javonte or Swift did for a long time, Rashad White. Like, there is a term for when you hit that mark. What is that per carry? 1 point what?
Or are you trying to find like a
1.5
Mendoza line
Not
type
even.
of a thing?
Yeah.
Or you, like,
There's got to be something for running backs.
I'm calling them mud runners, but
that works.
MudButt. They got some MudButt.
Look, they running in mud, and they got mud in their pants.
Hey, Swift got out of it though this past week. Swift said, "I don't want to be a part of that group anymore," and he actually broke out. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about old people. The geriatric. I mean, that's a huge part of our listeners is the, 60 and over crowd. They love it. They love the show. And so we wanted to make sure that we talked about the old players, which are pretty much all younger than us, but we're going to talk about them anyway. Last year on the show, we talked about Old, Bland, and Undervalued. We talked about Keenan Allen, my boy, who was wide receiver 3 in points per game. And then this year,
I went and I watched this recent game of Keenan. Did you do that, Kyle?
I have. I can't do it yet.
He looks fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He looked like, he's out there blocking, he's out there getting open. Caleb, the game is, well, the offensive line for Chicago is like, I feel like if ever there's 4 rushers against 5 offensive linemen and they get through, like, you owe me 20 push-ups right there on the spot. Like, we're not running the next play until y'all do some up-downs because this is ridiculous. But he looked – I thought Keenan Allen looked fine, and that is just the line and Caleb Williams, the game's too fast for him at this moment.
I feel like this is a moment where you don't want to, like, things are bad, but, like, you don't want to, like, I want to shield myself from it, emotionally speaking. Like, my grandpa, like, I don't want to see him like this. And so that's what I feel like with Keenan. Caleb's a train wreck, though. And we've brought that up a couple of times. It's been bad. We also brought up James Conner last year as an old player who's undervalued. And then down the stretch, if you had James Conner, he won People League. Also talked about Raheem Mostert as another player. But we're first going to talk about players that are old and busted.
Old busted.
We haven't used that one in a while, Mike.
No, we have not.
Betz, I will let you go first because I think you have a player that is expiring, so we might as well talk about him as much as we can now because he might not be on this team.
Well, we just got news of our recording that Davante Adams has told the Raiders, according to Ian Rappaport, that he has preferred to be traded. But let's talk about Davante because
you think that's because his coach is being big-time weirdo and publicly liking posts about him being traded?
Dude, that was, and then the business decision thing comment, like I don't know,
it's
weird vibes in Las Vegas,
very weird.
But Davante Adams, you have that whole thing in this equation, right? It's like, where is he playing football? Probably not this week, but in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as we get closer to the trade deadline, if he's not on this team, where does he go? And I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, like if he goes to the Jets, he'll have Aaron Rodgers. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, I know, on the show. But as far as Davante himself, he was a guy that I know on the main show. Jason brought up as a potential bust in best ball. I brought up as a potential bust. We talked about him as a tradeaway candidate last year on this show because the warning signs were all there of like, hey, Davante Adams has been great. No one is ever going to argue that. But right now, it is not great. And in fact, the efficiency numbers have been rapidly falling off every single year. And to me, like, that's when you just have to be willing to get out. It might be too late, but I think it's already there. His fantasy points per route run, his yards per route run, and his open score have all fallen off in 5 straight seasons. And when you see a decline happen just year over year over year over year, yeah, some of it's quarterback play, yeah, some of it's team level stuff, but like at some point, that all comes back to the player as well. So now he's going to be 32 in December on Christmas Eve, actually. And that is the point where in Marv's research in the Dynasty Pass found the most the highest percentage of players at wide receiver that tend to decline as far as their previous season and career production falls off a cliff. That is at 32. Then you have the conversation of, okay, now next year, where is he in the trade market, in the Dynasty startup market? It's going to be non-existent in terms of his value. So I'm hoping he goes somewhere where like people in my league are so excited about, oh, he went to Aaron Rodgers, or oh, he went, I don't think it's happening, but people are excited about the Chiefs, or wherever he goes. I'm using it as the window of like, this is the last chance to trade away Davante Adams and live with it, because unfortunately it happens to all the best wide receivers in the league.
What's y'all's strategy in these kind of moments in Dynasty where you get this spin of news and media stuff, and Betz is saying like, hey, I'm trying to trade away this player because the person on the other side says it's going to get better, it's going to be good. I tend to be a person that just kind of says like, I'm not buying into whatever hype or grass is greener situation. I'm waiting for my opponents to make the mistake, but maybe that's too passive. How do you guys handle these things?
I mean, yeah, I guess for this year, I mean, there's places he could go that would be exciting, and the decline of open scores, that's more concerning. Like his targets and yards and stuff per route run, I don't know. Like, I don't know how much I put on Adams. Look, if he's older, everyone expires. It happens. But when you go from 78% catch rate, 73% catch rate, that's in Green Bay, and then you're down to 56 and 59% of you've caught of your targets, like that's not Davante Adams. That's the quarterback play has been atrocious for Vegas. So I guess like if I have Adams, I guess if you're not a contending team, then fine. But if I'm anything other than this is a rebuild and this team is going nowhere, I'm going to have a top 5 pick, top 3 pick. I'm just going to hold on to Adams because I would rather make a push now, even if it's a failed push, to make the playoffs and the championship. Other than because it's like, what can you get? You're not getting a 1 for Adams. I don't think, unless all of a sudden if somehow the salary cap works and he goes to Kansas City, people will lose their minds for that. Then you could probably get a 1 immediately. But like overall, he's going to be 32. What do you Betz? If you see yourself trading away Adams, what is it you imagine you're getting? Like
I think a realistic trade offer would probably be something like an early second, a second and a third, something like that.
Would you take that?
I would probably take that.
See,
unless
I
I'm like going for it this year. Otherwise, I'm taking it because think about in 4 months, right? Like we have a very short-term window where he could still have value. A 32-year-old wide receiver who's probably changing teams, who all the efficiency numbers are just falling. Like usually the guys, even the elites, don't bounce back in their age 32, 33 seasons. So I think this is last chance on any sort of trade value for Davante.
I think in name value, I'd have to hold out for a 1 and just see how things change. And I'm assuming we're on the side that things will change, right? Like I don't.
As far as he'll be traded?
Yes.
I think most likely.
Yeah, probably. He's, to his credit, like number one, watching Davante Adams in interviews and things, like I like him so much more. Like he seems like a real genuine guy. He wanted to go to Vegas and play with Derek Carr, and then the team just hosed him. Like if I were Adams at that point, if the rumors are true that so much of him wanting to go play with the Raiders was he wanted to go play with Derek Carr, his old college buddy, and then they trade that guy, it would have been, I would have gone nuclear on that team of like, no, you're trading me. Like I'm not here to be with just this. I was here for all these other reasons, and you brought me here under false pretenses. You're now going to trade me away. Like I would have lost it. And to Adam's credit, he tried to be a good human, a good teammate, and be like, no, man, it's okay. I'll be here with the Raiders. We'll rebuild from this situation. And it's been, again, the quarterback play has been so bad. Imagine, like, yes, he's getting taken care of, but there's other things in life. Like he wants to succeed. He wants to win. He wants to have a good time. He wants to catch the ball more than half of the time. So for him, I can't believe that he hasn't made the ruckus. And that leads me to the point of, if he is now truly saying, I'm done with this crap, I think that he will force the team to make the trade. And there will be teams interested in Davante Adams.
Yeah, real quick before we move on, if you watched the receiver documentary on Netflix, it just kind of gave you a peek behind the curtain of like how bad it was with Jimmy G. Like, doesn't that feel like 4 years ago? Like that was last year.
It feels like forever.
The year. And I picture Monday Night Football, Davante wide open for 70-yard touchdown or whatever, and Jimmy G can't even hit him. Just where the frustration was boiling over. But yeah, I hope I'm wrong. Like I hope he does bounce back and have a really strong end of the year. But you have the hamstring injury plus changing teams and what I said with the value as far as his efficiency numbers. So I still think I'm trying to capitalize anything I can, but I'm rooting for the human being for sure. I think it's going to be hopefully better for him if he does move on.
Also, just a quick side here. Let Davante Adams, the path of him as a player, let's let him teach us just a little bit of patience. I get it in fantasy football. You got to make moves quick. You want to react immediately. But Davante Adams is now looked upon as one of the best wide receivers to play ever in the NFL. He's been elite. He's been elite for fantasy football. It took him a while. Guys, it's like he had 2 horrifically bad years. So just saying that if you love a player, maybe we should be a little bit more graceful and cut them a little bit of slack.
I hear you. Terrace Marshall has
Sure.
gone through the mud.
Sure.
You know?
Not him, but other guys.
Adams is
Kyle,
one
you're
of the
sick.
few players to come from the grave in terms of a lot of efficiency stuff and then become an all-timer. I wanted to pair that conversation with my old busted, which is Aaron Rodgers, and what it means for the Jets players. So we could speculate all day if Adams ends up on the Jets. He's the betting favorite, whatever that means. I don't think this is a knock on can Aaron Rodgers make the throw, because if you watch some of the games, especially that Thursday night primetime game, he made so many throws that you're just like, that's money. That's the Aaron Rodgers we know. They rolled him out. It was great. It's more of what this offense is at this stage of his career with Nathaniel Hackett, who, I'll say this again, I don't think he should have a job in the NFL, but he still does. They've been super conservative on fourth down, super conservative, the lack of motion. And despite this team throwing the ball more than you would think, like you think, oh, it's defense. They're one of the few teams with a positive pass rate over expectation. Aaron Rodgers, guys, is 33rd in completion percentage over expectation. He is only ahead of guys named Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Anthony Richardson, and Bryce Young in terms of passes and completion percentage and expectation.
Is that through the 4 weeks?
That's through the 4 weeks.
Do you have the number of through the 3 weeks?
No, I can sort through before Denver if I need to.
That game, like, dude, that was a wet, nasty game in that Broncos.
Just a wet fart.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, he completed 57% of his passes a week after completing 77% against the Patriots. That game happened. I'm just saying that matchup of the Jets and the Broncos was abnormal.
For sure.
So I've got it right here, Mike. He was 18th out of 31 qualifiers
See,
from weeks
that
1
seems,
to 3.
That's you would hope for better for Rodgers, but that's
For sure.
That's not as gloom and doom. But continue to tell me why you hate Rodgers.
I think the thing with Rodgers is what they've asked him to do and what he's still good at. Like the off-platform and in tight windows, back shoulder stuff, still good at that. And you're seeing it with Allen Lazard more so than Wilson. And we'll talk about Lazard a little bit later. But under center and play action has not worked at all. Play action so far, the only person who has a lower YPA on play action is Bryce Young over the course of the season. Like, it just hasn't worked. But the problem is he hasn't been...
Still that handoff, Brees.
Apparently it's not working. That's what Braylon Allen stinks at. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Braylon
That's
Allen's
why he's a
awesome.
fourth rounder.
Yeah, that was the part that the coaches didn't like. He hasn't been pressured that much because he's been getting the ball out so fast. Only Baker is getting the ball out faster. The problem is it's been short. A lot of low A dot stuff. And I'm looking at the wide receivers on this team and what they're good at. Okay. Garrett Wilson, against man coverage, he is unbelievable. I think we're all going to say separation artist. He can do that. When he gets pressed, though, he is actually a different wide receiver. And you've seen that this year. The only wide receivers with the lower EPA per target on press, DJ Moore, and sorry, Mike, Brandon Ayuk.
You don't have to be sorry. That dude has been terrible.
And then you look at the other wide receivers, it's like, we know what Lazard is as like a Rodgers favorite, but he's not going to be a guy that like always separates. It's going to be, they're on the same page on a play. Mike Williams is a one-on-one, like throw it, go ball. He had a nice catch this past week. And then it's Tyler Conklin, who's fine as a possession receiver. But it's like, at the end of the day, they don't have quite the burners that other people have to be able to beat people deep. And Rodgers has struggled against zones. So I bring that up because I can't really see with their defense them being in better game scripts where they have to throw. It's like the volume's down. He's not the same player in a lot of different ways. And unless they change things up, like it's going to kind of be the same thing. We keep saying the same thing with Wilson. It's like, oh, it's a bad matchup. Next week, Minnesota. Week after that, Buffalo. Then it's Pittsburgh. Then it's New England.
That sucks.
It does suck, but at the end of the day, there are certain wide receivers that just, like Justin Jefferson just says, I don't care who it is. I don't care who the matchup is. So I bring all that up because Rodgers and what he's doing, the rest of the weapons, is just kind of stagnating this team. And they're going to win games. They're going to be in it. They should have won that game against the Broncos. But it's taking everyone else down, and he's kind of this fine version, but not like difference making for fantasy. So I wanted to bring that up.
I would jump in and say, I'm going to give them a little bit more time of like, this is, we pointed to Adams, right? Or Adams' first few years in the league, it wasn't working. And if you, there's a play, I'm sure you guys saw it, but it's Garrett essentially running just a go, but it like in the middle of the field. And it looked like Rodgers wanted him to do something clear, like maybe stop or whatever, or shift the route a little bit. And he was expecting that. And he threw the ball there. And Wilson just kept going. And then the camera went, just a super zoom right on Rodgers' face. And I'm like, oh, I make that face to my kids all the time. Like, that was the face of like, what are you doing? You know what you're supposed to be doing, and you are not doing it. It's a hilarious clip. But then I saw Matt Ryan, who I don't know. Look, Matt Ryan's I've talked about it. I think Matt Ryan was a fantastic quarterback. I don't know much of his personality, but he's doing football talk now. He got himself a big fancy suit job, and they're like, Matt, what do you think about this? And he said Rodgers needs to pull everyone in and say, when they're talking about getting on the same page. This is Matt Ryan. I thought this was kind of wild. Matt Ryan says Aaron Rodgers needs to go to all of them and say, you are going to get on my page. You are going to get on my page right now. And just stuff like this, I mean, really like a scolding, like an old man dad scolding people for doing the wrong thing. And I was like, whoa, Matt Ryan coming with the spiciness, not of like a collaborative team. Is no, you say, I'm the quarterback. You're going to do things the way that I think that you should do them. And so it sucks because I think it's going to take a while. These are all the growing pains we didn't get to see last year. We had the high hopes, so we got to see nothing. Aaron Rodgers had a couple months of training camp with this team, no real live game action to see how he sees how his players are going to respond in a practice, but that's a practice against your defense who knows you, and like this isn't the variables of a real game. We're seeing that happen right now. And I think that over the second half of the year, it will get better. But in the meantime, it's like if you got Garrett Wilson, I can't give you much hope for the next month. It's going to be brutal.
Matt Ryan has this famous moment where he told Austin Hooper, it's not family-friendly words, but he basically said, you get set, and he screamed it mic'd up to the point where it gets replayed sometimes.
Oh, I got to find this.
He was a different person in the huddle, but very respected and very loved. I know I'm speaking as an Atlanta guy, but him and Julio just work together, man. Love
same
Julio.
page, but it's saying like that's what's missing. I don't think it's that Aaron Rodgers can't make the throw. I don't think it's that Garrett Wilson can't run the route. It's the pinpoint accuracy, the mind meld that Rodgers has had with a few receivers over his career. It is not there with Wilson yet.
It's painful, Betz. It's painful.
Not setting
what they
the
need
league
to get back on track.
What?
The boys need to sit down for 8 hours on a flight to London this week and just hash it out. And
I thought you were going to recommend some ayahuasca.
Well, that also, but yeah, nice little 8-hour flight over to London, and they'll get it figured out. Hopefully.
Yeah. All right, Mike, you're going to sadly finish this off with somebody who is old and could be busted. We don't want him to be, though.
Yeah, it's really hard to know what to do with this one, guys, because it's the topic of everything right now. It's Mark Andrews, who is not old for a tight end. He's not. He's 29. But is there a pick that feels worse right now in fantasy football?
Nope.
Because this isn't. Look, you drafted Christian McCaffrey in redraft or whatever. You can't start him. He's not hurting you. He's hurting your bench, because you have to find other players to play. You're playing Mark Andrews right now, and we got the worst pump fake that we could possibly get right now. Of week 1, it was awful. I can figure that out. I know what happened. Week 2, everything will be okay, and it was. Like, it wasn't, hey, I got 100 yards and a touchdown, but it was a good game, especially for what's going on with tight ends right now. And then that turned into one target, nothingness, absolute nothingness. And I am struggling here. Like, what do you do? What do you do in a dynasty league where you can't really, if you're going to go get another tight end, you're going to have to go make a move. If you happen to have a backup tight end who you can use on your roster, congratulations, because most teams don't have that luxury. So just what are we doing here with Mark Andrews, where it feels like his long-term value, even though it's only 4 weeks, but his long-term value are people going to look at him like a top 12 tight end in Dynasty anymore?
Right now, he's not. Like, keep trade cut, which gets the pulse of how people are feeling. They have him at tight end 16, which just feels very low for people overreacting. Like, could you get a bag of beans for Mark Andrews right now?
What is this, Jack and the Beanstalk over here?
Yeah, I'm telling you. Like, I'd rather have the magic beans, but I can't imagine trading him away. I feel like he's one of those players, like, you're just going to gamble that you get him for the cheap. Like, would you trade for Mark Andrews for a second?
Yeah, that's the better question.
A second?
Depends on the cost. A second? I think that's probably okay if you are.
I don't think it's getting it done. A late first.
No, I'm not doing that. With what we've seen, like some of it is him, like watching that Sunday night game, and it was just max pain. I mean, Collinsworth just drilling it in. Like, his blocking has been so good. I'm like, stop talking about his blocking, man. We don't need that. We need routes and
But
pass
if he
catching.
can do that, that means that he's not a washed player.
That's what I'm saying. Is that? But then he did drop that ball, and it was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
but
because
aside
he
from
was
like
shocked that it actually came to him.
I know. He was like, oh my goodness, I'm actually going to target. But the fact that I agree with you, I don't think it's like him as a player is just like completely done. Again, the best players at their positions generally have a nice kind of like steady slope off of the decline. It happens very quickly with average to below average players. I would say Mark Andrews is a very good player. He's been for years. That I'm expecting his career slowly over time, as all players do, to decline. I'm not expecting it to go from, oh, he was actually number 1 in points per game of all fantasy tight ends last year before his injury, to completely irrelevant toast. So I think this is a rare buying window for a player who, again, in tight end at 29 years old, is not that old. If it's a second to get him, I'm in. If it's a first, I do get queasy about that. But there is a little window here where it's like, literally, it can't get worse for Mark Andrews, right? And with how tight end scoring is,
could it get worse?
Could it get worse?
No, it can't. It can't, because it's been 2 zeros in a row.
He put up 0 points 2 weeks in a row.
I started Mike Gesicki.
I did too. I got negative points.
It was worse.
So I think there's a little window here where I'm fading the idea that it's all of him, and I'm more. I think Todd Monken's offense is awesome. For fantasy, is very annoying because he game plans in certain ways, and some weeks they'll run the ball over and over again, and some weeks Justice Hill's getting 6 targets. So like that's very annoying. But as far as the player level, I don't think it's completely gone with Mark Andrews. I just think we're in a little bit of a blip right now where the usage has been very, very frustrating.
I'm going to give you some quick names. Would you rather have in Dynasty Cole Kmet or Mark Andrews?
Mark Andrews.
Yeah. Dallas Goedert or Mark Andrews?
That one's harder. I think I would.
It's Mark Andrews for me.
I would still take Andrews.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the hard one. Would you rather have Isaiah Likely or Mark Andrews in Dynasty?
Well, that is the question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a piece of the puzzle of like the snaps are down, the routes are down for Mark Andrews, and like in 11 personnel, we're seeing more Isaiah Likely when there's one tight end on the field. It's not just automatically Mark Andrews. That is highly concerning. Like, is it the? I don't know. Is it the ankle? Is it the car accident? I I don't think we have an answer.
I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of forgot about that too, actually. The car accident happened, it was like the second week of August, and he missed about 2.5, 3 weeks of practice. And so it's like, oh, okay, now we at least have maybe some context as to why he wasn't playing his full route share in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. If we look back at like December and we're like, oh yeah, remember Mark Andrews? Like, he was fine down the stretch. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a factor. And the tough part about that is we don't know what specifically the injury was and how much it affected him, but that is something that I think a lot of people have just completely forgotten about, is that car accident in August.
His ankle injury was very similar to Tony Pollard's, right? Am I remembering that correct?
Yeah.
And it took Tony Pollard months before he said he was, I mean, I think it was like week 14 before he said he actually felt good. It was very late. So that doesn't help for fantasy football this year to know that that's a possibility of, you're talking week 10 plus before Mark Andrews feels like himself. Weathering that storm is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
It makes me feel sad that a month ago on this show, we had our Dynasty Bold predictions, and mine was Isaiah Likely becomes the top 12 Dynasty tight end. And under it, I wrote, but I'm not saying that Mark Andrews gets injured. I just didn't know it was going to be like this, guys.
Yeah. And it's not that, look, Likely had week 1. He's not tearing it up. This whole, we didn't bring Derrick Henry in to run the ball 24, 25 times a week, Mr. Harbaugh. I'm looking at the game log. I guess I shouldn't complain because I have Derrick Henry, and it's been fantastic, guys. It has been just a great ride with the King.
Just you ride that King forever.
Forever.
Into glory.
Into the ground. Me and Henry, we'll go down together.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk about some old undervalued players. All right, there's Dynasty players on your roster right now that maybe going into the season you didn't know they were going to be stalwarts for your team, but really that's what makes the format so unbelievable, is that you have guys that you've been stashing and they turn out super well.
Old, bland, and undervalued.
The drops are really just like this patchwork. Like this, there is not the vibe is all over the place.
Pop Goes the Weasel is still a vibe though.
It's a vibe.
The kids call it a bop these days. Betz, you're going to start us off first. We're going to go a little quicker here, but man, Chris Godwin has been so consistent.
Yeah, you got that
Rod
one
God,
right.
baby. Rod Godwin. Yeah, it's been actually awesome to see. Now, the conversation on Godwin for the last couple of years has been like, he's just not a touchdown scorer. We're actually seeing that this year. And if you look at some of his like target volume over the last 2-3 years, it's still been very, very strong. He just hasn't really had the variance of the touchdowns. We're seeing that come now. But I think for me, the conversation on Chris Godwin is just, where does he go beyond this year? Because I think he's kind of plugged in as like a wide receiver 2/3 for your team every single week. With that move back to the slot, he is leading the Bucs in target share. The peripherals are strong. Yards per run looks really good. Yards per target looks really good, better than Mike Evans. So I think this year this is decently sticky moving forward. I think Mike Evans is going to have his weeks, obviously. But Chris Godwin, he's kind of at that tipping point in fantasy value where it's like, he's 28.6. So next year he'll be 29. Does he have another big contract? Because right now he's in a contract year. So he gets one more year and then where does he go? So he's a guy that I'm really interested in having for the rest of the season, but I'm not sure what his value is beyond this year. But if you have Chris Godwin, he looks very, very strong for the season.
Yeah, there's some younger wide receivers that I have on some of my Dynasty rosters that I'm like, man, if I'm going for it this year, do I want to flip these guys? Like JSN long-term, I obviously want, but like rest of year, I'd rather have Chris Godwin. And so you kind of start to play that game of going back and forth. Like Zay Flowers is a great player to compare. It's like, they're at different stages of their career. Are we ever going to get this volume from Flowers that we want? Are they just low ADOT targets? So like rest of season, I think we would both want Chris Godwin. All want Chris Godwin over Flowers, right?
Yes.
Now in Dynasty, would you make that flip if you were a contender?
Hoofed.
So it's close, though.
I think
That's what I'm
I'd be open to it.
You could probably get something. If you're going to make a move like that, you got to get something back on top of Godwin.
Yes.
Like Flowers was a very strong prospect, had a great rookie year. I'm not flipping that straight up by any means.
Okay. Mike, you have a wide receiver here that is gelling with Rodgers.
Mine is disgusting. And I honestly, after week 1, I thought that was completely a fluke. But Alan Lazard, Aaron Rodgers' BFF on this team, like week 1 was very fluky and had, like it was a broken play and then it was a backup quarterback. But at the same time, overall, for the 4 weeks, Garrett Wilson seeing 26% of the targets. Alan Lazard's at 18%. Like Alan Lazard has that connection with Rodgers. Of Lazard is he's gigantic, but he's not the athletic freak that Garrett Wilson is. But Rodgers knows exactly where he's going to be, and he just like he might have been on your waiver wire. And this is, if you're in a double flex, this is a usable player. He's not going to be a superstar, but I think that he's probably undervalued at this point, where 20% of the team's first read targets. Like I think he's going to be okay for the season.
If your team has 2 starting flex spots, I feel like you're going to be in these matchups.
A double flex, he's a playable guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that we're kind of trying to pencil in, and it's like, I hope this works out. But like, I hate, it's not a great bar, but like a top 48 wide receiver or a top, 36 wide receiver, that's awesome. That's hard to find that you thought at the beginning of the season, this player is worthless. I mean, to be honest, in best ball, I laughed at people when they took Alan Lazard.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, this guy's nothing. Like, why are you taking this player? And Malachi Corley, a player that we kind of talked about a lot in the prospect season, I have maybe heard his name twice this year. Like
he's not getting on the field.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's like Lazard, 58 yards in the game that I'm kind of throwing away, only 48 against the Patriots, but we're already at 3 touchdowns for Lazard. If he finishes at 10, I'm not going to be surprised in the slightest.
Yeah, Lazard's wild, right? Like do you guys remember last year when the Jets season was just complete
dude
throwaway,
got
but
benched.
I was going to say he was almost off the roster. Like there was talks of like, do they cut him? Do they just bench him and he doesn't even want to be there? And now it's like he's got his boy back. My question is, what happens if they get Devontae Adams? Who's the loser here? Because Lazard is staying on the field with Aaron Rodgers. So it's just another dynamic. But yeah, he's been valuable. If you, like you said, if you had him, you were like, I guess I'll just hang on to this guy until he retires and drop him. But you're starting him in double flex league. So yeah, he's valuable.
Who's the loser? I mean, Mike Willie's getting paid what, $10 million?
If they trade, it was 1 year, 15.
If they trade for Adams, that feels like Mike Williams would go back to the Raiders.
Oh, poor guy. He's like, I want to team up with Rodgers.
I'm not. Yeah, he does, but also that he got a lot of money to come repair his ACL.
He's like one of my favorite fantasy players. I know he won Betz a huge tournament years ago in DFS. It's just perfect for fantasy, where you know that he's gonna bust. You know what he is.
I'll always love him.
Yeah, Mike Willie's awesome. I wanted to bring up Geno Smith because I think we would all say that he's good and maybe like better than good. I'm not gonna go to great, but like
no, he's a very good quarterback, and this one feels good because he was one of those guys that got thrown in the garbage this offseason, and I was like, yeah, I think that Geno's still good. I think that Shane Waldron sucks, and Chicago, how's it going there with Shane Waldron?
I mean, Geno is on pace, guys, for over 5,000 passing yards. That won't hold up, but still, I mean, 4,500 is still an insane total. The TD rate has been the thing that we've kind of been like, 2.5%. It's just one touchdown every single week. But man, if you're getting 40 pass attempts per game, which is where he's at, that is wild stuff in Superflex leagues right now. If you have Geno as your QB2, you have to be feeling great. Before the season, he was kind of seen as, well, it's this final year. They'll move on. They don't really like him. I looked back and I kind of forgot about this. Did you guys know that he's been with the Seahawks since 2019?
Wow.
Wasn't he there as a backup for a year or two?
Yeah, he was backup, not doing anything. And it took him a while. 2022 is when he had that breakout season. Last year was a bit of a down one in terms of statistics, but I looked at his contract situation because they restructured some stuff back in February. His dead cap for this next year is 13.5. So, theoretically they could move on, but he's also playing his way to getting another contract. And I think in a league where we're just asking for competent play, he's been really, really good. This is a system where, Ryan Grubb, it's working. This team's 3-1. They were right there with the Lions, by the way, in that game. So my question is, does he get another contract extension? Because I think he's with
he
the
does
Seahawks.
too.
Yeah, I think it's probably Seattle. I mean, the NFL, look, if your job is put out this product of a football team that your fans like, that you have a chance to win, and you're looking out across the NFL at how many teams don't have a capable starting quarterback, and it's like even when you tear it all down, man, like look at the Jags. Are the Jaguars in a better situation than the Seahawks right now with like that they tore it all down? They drafted the generational talent. They had to give them all this money, and like who's a better quarterback right now? Geno Smith is better. He's a better quarterback than Trevor. So is Geno like he's not an elite like one of these guys are like, oh, it's Mahomes, but he is a very good starting quarterback. And if you fix what other leaks you have on the team, I do think that Geno is good enough that you can make a run in the playoffs.
The statistics we give every single year is that a third of the league essentially changes over their starting quarterback from week one year to week one the next year. So you start to go through the names of the teams. You're like, I mean, some of these teams that they're trying to figure it out with rookie quarterbacks, and you give them a couple years. But I mean, so many of these teams they're going to be figuring it out next year. And so I think Geno's one of those players that you may have missed your window because the volume's starting to catch up and people are starting to see like, oh, it's there. But man, he's been undervalued. Hopefully you have him as like a QB2. As a QB3, he's a luxury that, I wouldn't say you trade him away, but man, that's good stuff. And hopefully things just break out. I feel like we're still waiting for that game where, one of these wide receivers goes for 2 touchdowns, or JSN. I mean, JSN had that big week 2. Lockett's been fine. Lockett was actually pretty good on Monday night as well, but I'm still waiting for them to all put it together. They got bone zoned on Monday night.
See, that's still my biggest problem with supporting Geno Smith is I need Ken Bone Walker to get all the touchdowns. So I'm loving what Geno's doing at that 2.5%. It's great.
Geno's just stopping right there, right at like the 2 or 3.
That's fine. Or throw it to Walker. That's fine too.
Look, I'm not being picky here, but
yeah,
if you could just throw a few to Ken Walker, that'd be great.
They did have a string of like 4 straight incompletions at the goal line. It was in the fourth quarter. I was just like, this is not working. They were down 2 touchdowns. They couldn't run the ball, but I was like, I bet Ken could get in there.
Yeah, he could.
So that's going to do it for this episode. Like I said, we will be talking more trades. You can also go to our Ballers Discord, ballersdiscord.com. If you want to talk through some Dynasty folk, talk through Superflex stuff, it's all there. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your Dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.